Hello and welcome back to another soupy story time. Today I intend on finishing the final part 3 of the story of Pwyll from the Tales of the Mabinogion, the Kevin Crossley Holland and Gwyn Thomas edition, illustrated by Margaret Jones. Now, I had intended on doing this part of the story in that same place where I was previously with the open fire in a winter wonderland, but unfortunately the weather got a bit too much and we weren't able to maintain access to the building. It was slippy and cold. So here I am back at Archaeosoup Towers, ready to complete the story, where last we heard Teyrnon was in deep doo-doo. She was stuck outside the city offering piggybacks to anyone who would accept on their entry to the court, for she had been accused of killing her own child, and things weren't good. However, enter a new player to our tale. At this time, the Lord of Gwent Yscoed was Teyrnon, and he was the best man in the world. I love the way, everything is described as the best, most extreme or worst in these sorts of stories, and it gets better. In his court there was a mare, and there was nothing in the kingdom, neither horse nor mare, that was more beautiful than she. Every year on the eve of May Day, she would give birth to a foal, but no one knew what became of it. Teyrnon had a talk with his wife one evening. "Listen," he said, "we are feeble to allow our mares' foals to disappear every year and to let them all be taken." "Well, what can we do about it?" she asked. "Well, it's the eve of May Day, isn't it? May God punish me if I don't find out what evil it is that spirits the foals away." Teyrnon had the mare brought indoors. He armed himself and began to keep watch. Towards the beginning of the night, the mare gave birth to a large, sturdy foal that immediately stood up on its 4 legs. Teyrnon got up to examine the foal, and while he was looking at it, he heard a great noise. And after the noise, a great claw came through the window of the building and seized the foal by its mane. Teyrnon took his sword and struck off the arm between the wrist and the elbow, so that part of the arm with the foal in its grasp fell inside the building. And then Teyrnon heard a great noise and a shriek together. He opened the door and ran after the noise. He could not see what was causing the noise because of the night. It was so dark. But he rushed after it and chased it all the same. Then he remembered that he had left the door open, and he went back. And lying by the door, there was a little baby wrapped up in silk. He picked up the little baby boy and saw that he was strong for his age. Teyrnon bolted the door and went to the room where his wife was. "My lady," he said, "are you sleeping?" "No," she replied. I mean, how could she after hearing the "Roar!" from outside? "No, I was asleep, but I awoke when you came in." "Here's a baby," he said. "If you want him, something you've never had." "My lord," she said, "where does he come from?" Good question. "I'll tell you everything," said Teyrnon, and he told her the whole story. "Well, you see, I was chopping off the arm of this monster, and suddenly there was a baby in the doorway." "My lord," she said, "what sort of clothes is the baby wearing?" "Silk clothes," said Teyrnon. "He's the child of noble people," she said. "My lord, I'd be glad to have women speak up and say I gave birth to a child, if that is what you wish." "I'll agree readily with you about that," he said, and that is what they did. They had the child baptized and called him Gwri, golden hair, since what hair there was on the child's head was yellow gold. Sounds familiar, Gwri. The child was brought up in the court until he was 2 years old. Before he was 1, he was walking well and was bigger than a child of 3. That is, a child of 3 who is big for his age. Just as well she didn't have to give birth to him, I guess. At the end of the second year, he was as big as a boy of 6. And before the end of his 4th year, he used to implore the grooms to allow him to take the horses to water. So he was already up and about and fairly independent by the time he was 6. "My lord," said his wife to Teyrnon, "where is the foal you saved that night? The night that you found the baby?" "I gave him to one of the grooms and told him to look after him," he said. "My lord, wouldn't it be a good thing if you were to have it trained and given to the boy?" she said. "It was on that very night that you found the boy that the foal was born, and you saved it after all." "I've nothing against that," said Teyrnon. "I'll allow you to give it to him." "My lord," she said, "may God reward you." "I'll give it to him." And the horse was given to the boy. Teyrnon's wife, who, it's a shame we keep on referring to her as his wife, but anyway, Teyrnon's wife told the trainers and the grooms to take care of the horse and have it trained by the time the boy was old enough to ride, which sounds like he's basically almost there, and to bring her regular reports about how the horse was coming along. During this time, Teyrnon and his wife began to hear news of Rhiannon and her grim punishment. And because he had found a baby, Teyrnon was particularly keen to keep his ears open and closely question travellers. For many of those who came to the court, he heard great complaints about Rhiannon's pitiful punishment. Teyrnon thought about this and looked closely at the child. It struck him that he had never seen a son and father look so alike as the child and Pwyll, king of the other world. He knew well what Pwyll looked like, for he had paid homage to him for a number of years now. As a result of this, Teyrnon began to worry about how unfair it was for him to keep the boy with him when he knew he was another man's child. On the first occasion he was alone with his wife, he told her that it was not right for them to keep the boy with them, and as a result caused so much pain to so good a lady as Rhiannon, especially as the boy was the child of Pwyll, king of the other world. Teyrnon's wife agreed to send the boy to Pwyll. "And we can win 3 things through doing this," she said. "Gratitude and reward for releasing Rhiannon from her punishment. Gratitude from Pwyll for bringing up the boy and taking him back to him. And the 3rd thing is this. If the boy grows to be a man of honour, he will be our foster child and will do the best he can for us." So they agreed on this. The very next day, Teyrnon prepared to leave with 2 knights, taking the boy with them as a 4th, on the horse that Teyrnon had given him. They travelled towards Arberth, the court of Pwyll and Rhiannon, and it did not take them long to get there. When they approached the court, they could see Rhiannon sitting by the mounting block, and when they drew close to her, she called out, "Ah, my lords, go no further. I'll carry each of you into the court. That's my punishment for killing my own child." "Lady," said Teyrnon, "I don't think anyone here will allow you to carry them on your back." "Let who will be carried speak out," said the boy. "I shan't." "Indeed," said Teyrnon, "we won't either." Teyrnon's been a good foster father, good values instilled in the boy, not letting this woman, who's clearly in great pain, carry him into the court. And they came to the court and were warmly welcomed. Pwyll had just returned from travelling around Dyfed, after all, and was glad to see Teyrnon. They went to the hall to wash, and each took place at table. Teyrnon sat between Pwyll and Rhiannon, and Teyrnon's 2 friends sat above Pwyll with the boy between them. Then Teyrnon told his whole story about his mare and the boy, and how they, Teyrnon and his unnamed wife, adopted the boy as their own child and had raised him thus far. And there is your son, Lady Rhiannon, said Teyrnon, and whoever has told a lie about you killing him has done a great wrong. When I heard about your punishment, I was sad and began to worry. And I don't think that there's a single person in all this company who will not recognize this boy as Pwll's boy, your son. There is no one here who doubts it at all, said everyone there gathered. As God's my witness, said Rhiannon, if this were true, my care would be at an end. My lady, said Pendaran Dyfed, you've chosen a good name for your boy. Pryderi, meaning my care. The name that suits him best is Pryderi, son of Pwll, king of the other world. Rhiannon sighed. It may be that his own name suits him better. What name is that? Asked Pendaran Dyfed. Well, Gwri Goldenhair is the name that we gave him, said Teyrnon. Pryderi, said Pendaran Dyfed, shall be his name. That is best, said Pwll, to take the boy's name from the words his mother spoke when she had good news about him. And they agreed upon Pwll's judgment that Pryderi would be the boy's name from here on. Teyrnon, said Pwll, God reward you for bringing up this boy, and if he grows to be a man of honour, it is right that he should repay you. My lord, said Teyrnon, no one in the world will be more sad to lose him than the woman who brought him up. And her name? It's right that he should remember what I and this woman did for him. As God's my witness, said Pwll, I'll defend your kingdom for as long as I am able to defend my own. And if Pryderi becomes king here, it'll be even more fitting for him to protect you than it is for him to protect me in my dotage. Now, if you and all these noblemen here agree, we'll give the child into the care of Pendaran Dyfed. Why? Don't give him away. You just got him back. And you'll be his friends and foster parents. Oh, that's good. Okay, so I'm going to keep that relationship going. That is a fine proposal, said everyone there gathered. So the boy was given to Pendaran Dyfed, and the noblemen of the country came to keep him company. He did not go without being offered the most beautiful gems and the best horses and dogs, and Pryderi, son of Pwll, king of the other world, was brought up with the care as he deserved until he was the most handsome, comely, and skilled young man in the kingdom. They lived in that way for 1 year, after another, until the life of Pwll, king of the other world, came to an end, and he died. Then Pryderi ruled successfully over the 7 regions of Dyfed, loved in his kingdom and by everyone about him. He went on to conquer the 3 regions of Part.3, the 4 regions of Mabinogion, and these were called the 7 regions of cherished. And Pryderi, son of Pwll, king of the other world, busied himself with all these conquests until he thought about taking a wife. And the woman he chose was Gwri, daughter of Gwyn the Resplendent, from the very best family of this island. And that is how this branch of the Mabinogi ends, leading into the second branch and the story of Branwen, which we have covered in a previous episode. I'll link to that at the end of this video. Apologies if those pronunciations at the end there weren't quite right. I've never come across those particular words before, but typically, as we've discussed in other episodes, letters in the Welsh alphabet are consistently pronounced. So I'm pretty sure that cherished is correct, if a little bit disjointed, because I was reading it out loud in my head as I went. Yeah. Diolch yn fawr. Thank you very much for listening to this story. It has taken a little longer than I had hoped, as I say, because of that change of venue. But I continue to love these stories, and I love the way that again, the best man, the most beautiful horse, the most comely and handsome and skilled warrior, and presumably, I'll put on the screen if this is the case. There's a reason that we don't learn of Teyrnon's wife's name. Either it's lost, or there's a reason that she's cultural or linguistic conventional reason that she's not named. If I know anything at all, it'll be on the screen now. Because after all, other women are named in the Mabinogi stories. We do know, for example, Branwen. That's a key example. So, and Rhiannon herself. So there must be some sort of reason. As I say, thank you very much. We shall see what we come to next in terms of ancient tales, riddles, and stories. But until then, do take very good care of yourself. Bye-bye.